gets the traveling trophy.
Okay, very good. Well, that's an excellent set of awards.
And if you um, you are welcome to hang on after you finish, and I'll be going through a little bit of that and have a picture of the trophy and that kind of thing. If you're interested, if not, I can send you the information. I know you're an hour ahead of us, so that may or may not be a problem for you. I don't know.
No problem. Other than got a preseason football game starting at 8 o'clock tonight Eastern time, or like now, or in about a half hour, or no, right now. And hopefully I'll see the end of it, but not the beginning, of course.
Conflicts.
Yeah, always. Well, I'll stand by here.
Okay, Doug. We don't have a big crowd today, do we?
No, but it's a sort of like church people still wandering late.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's thunderstorm going here right now.
So you ready? You want to
Thunderstorm.
start, or you want to wait a few minutes?
We've got so few people on right now, we could hold the meeting in a phone booth. This is
Yeah.
K2TNO. How you guys doing?
Hello, Tuna.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm well.
I miss you guys.
Well, we wish you were here too. And I had lunch with Brian, KT3X today, along with another group of folks. There were several. What, about 9 of us there, Brian?
Yeah, I was just about to say, long time no see.
Yeah. And if you're 6 meter oriented like me, Hotel 40GJ is on 2023 50.223. Here, nobody's able to hear him so far in our part of the country, but let's see. How did I do? Oh, there I am.
Where are you guys actually holding this? Is it at a restaurant or what?
So this is just Zoom.
Okay.
The lunch we had today was at Papacitos, just south of the NRG Stadium.
Okay.
But that's another group. There's a group of us that are kind of 6 meter oriented in the area here, and we meet once a month, have lunch, and talk about all kinds of stuff.
Let's go ahead and get started.
Okay. All right. So Doug had kind of asked me to do the talking tonight. So here's sort of our agenda. We are recording the meeting, which is the first thing on our agenda. We'll have Mark Pride, K1RX, talk about the WRTC and and the efforts that are underway for the 2026 version of the WRTC. I'm sure we will be, as a club, making some kind of contribution. That'll be a topic for a future meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing on the quote unquote agenda is I'll be giving a little update on the Texas QSO party, where we currently stand on the 2024 version, and a little bit about some ideas for the 2025 version. So I guess I'll do a small introduction here. Mark, we'll let you go ahead. So our guest tonight is Mark Pride, K1RX, who will introduce to the World Radio Sport Team Championships, WRTC. This is an invitational competition held every 4 years in a different country each time, and pits up to 50 top contesting teams utilizing identical antennas, location conditions, and power in a true head-to-head competition. The next WRTC will be held in July of 2026 in the United Kingdom. So Mark has a long history with this event. He's been involved with the WRTC for many years, including director of the WRTC 2014 Boston event, as a referee in 2018 in German event. So this should be 2026 should be a really interesting time in the United Kingdom. So, Mark,
Okay, thank you.
it's all yours.
Hopefully you can see the screen that I put up.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so just a bit of an introduction, and thank you for that, Robbie, for the intro. I guess I have to agree that pretty much everything you pointed out is a true statement. I have been involved with this event for a while. Not an original. I have a good friend of mine who was at the original one in 1990, and it's really taken shape over the years. But at any rate, at the Dayton Hamvention, I was approached by the organizing committee chairman, that's Mark M0DXR, and a couple of stateside guys, and asked me to give them a hand. I've done some previous work, as Robbie mentioned, 2014, 2018, et cetera. Asked me if I could give them a hand with fundraising. And admittedly, this is a whole new thing for me. But fortunately, I'm backed up with some good support here. N50T, Lee, KY7M, Craig, K9CT, and Adrian, KO8SCA. So let me just take you through it real quick. I assume most of the people on the call already understand what the purpose of WRTC is, but I'll just kind of briefly go through it. I'll talk about some of the brief history, the format, the mission, some of the key achievements. We've gotten the site selection they're making good progress in the UK in setting this up. This is again, of course, July of next year. They've done some initial testing. Things are looking pretty good. And at some point we'll be talking about, we'll need your help. So on the brief history part of this, surprise, surprise, we're celebrating the 10th WRTC. Started back in 1990, as I mentioned, and it's amazing how it's gone from small antennas at a shared location at an existing fixed station to flat lands and 50 or 60 sites set up in very good locations that are all equal. Another interesting point here is this is totally done by volunteers. Everybody steps up to the plate on this one. Organizing committee, the site set up the rules, the equipment acquisition, the logistics, all of it. And in the years that I've been involved, I've seen typically 400 to 500 volunteers to participate, and it's a lot of things to be done. And following these things, I've always heard the same phrase: it's a once in a lifetime experience for those volunteers that helped out. And it really is. Like has been mentioned, I was in the 2014 event. I was one of the directors. I was responsible for towers and antennas. And our goal was to set up 65 locations in 72 hours. And I had a team, I had 16 teams that were composed of five people per team. And I was fortunate enough to have a great group of guys driving that. And I had one team that could actually stand up 5 locations in a single day. Pretty amazing. Typically 90 minutes to build the antenna, erect the tower, get it all set up, and show up at the end of the coax with a couple of PL259s ready to plug into the equipment. And
Mark?
yeah.
Mark, quick
Yes.
question. This is Bill K2TNO. So when you set it up, maybe you're going to get to this. What's kind of a standard setup? A tri-bander and dipoles or verticals? Or what's kind of a standard format then? And what's kind of what you guys are dealing for standard format now? Most of us have done field day where a TA33 and a 40-meter dipole. So what's the format for the antennas?
Beautiful question, and I will absolutely answer that here in a moment. I'll take you through all the gory details of that. Uh, so let me just pop back to this again. I think most of us realize or have considered this whole thing the Olympics of radio sport. You know, the very best operators from all over the world get together and compete on, an equal setting. And of course, occurs just like the Olympics every 4 years. Just a little past history back in Italy, 2022, which actually it actually occurred on in 23 because of the pandemic. But this was kind of the lineup of the winners. And what was really wonderful back in the Italian one was the Ukraine had won the gold medal, given all the things going on in Ukraine and it was a real boost of positivity to see that occur. And it was really quite remarkable. Silver medal went to Germany, bronze to Croatia, etc. Back in 2014, gold went to the USA and Slovakia and then Germany. And back in 2010, Russia, they got the gold. It's almost kind of typical of the Olympics that we've all come to know, summer, winter, the host country always tends to end up with lots of gold medals. So this is just a partial list. So the basic format, it's a radio contest. It actually overlays with the July HF IARU HF Championship contest. So you could think of WRTC, that event, as an overlay to the main event going on over the weekend. And yes, think field day. Absolutely. It's off the grid. Everybody's got generators, etc. And every station is the same. And I'll show you that detail in a minute. The selection process. You're talking roughly 3.5 years of participating in a series of recognized contests. And I think in this group, it was 15 contests they identified over that 3-year period. And a lot of people don't realize, but anytime you operate a contest, you submit a log. And of course, it's generally publicly made available. The WRTC host country for that next event actually comb through all of the public data that's out there. And they compose a list of everyone from making 2 QSOs in, sweepstakes to, thousands of QSOs in a DX contest. It doesn't matter. And if you go to their website under the qualification standings area, you'll see over 6,000 calls reported there. And what they've done basically is they've captured all that data through public resources and they published it there. And of course, that's what sets the tone for the qualification. And of course, the top contenders in the different regions of the country are the ones that are ultimately asked to participate. But it's kind of fun to see your call show up on this list that, you too could have been a contender, if I could refer to an old Rocky phrase. But, so many of us can't, but that's okay. It's all about the fun. The rules and the selections process, all that is established by the host country. I'd say probably in the last 4 to 5 events, they pretty much follow a similar format, with of course, the medals. And they always do some special awards, might be a youth award. It might be, a team that only competed on sideband, maybe another one that just did CW, but the host country has an opportunity to do some special things if they like. And of course, in the participant side of it, you've got a team leader, which is one of the top people of these 6,000 entries in the different regions. And they have the opportunity to pick a teammate. Now they, in a perfect world, they'd be like number 2 in their particular region, but that doesn't have to be the case. You can pick your buddy from, Washington State if you were the top guy out of Texas or whatever. But the prime thing is to become a team leader. You've won all the 15, or you've been, you achieve the highest point total in the way they do their weighting of the different contests, those 15 recognized contests. And then that leader can then select, his teammate. And then there's a referee, and then there are judges that are involved. And typically maybe 3-4 judges are involved. There's a referee at each station. So, there's a whole application process for that as well. Also typical, again, in the middle of this IARU contest in July, in order to distinguish the WRTC guys, they typically have a unique call sign. And that always gets published ahead of time. So you can kind of see in advance, all the 50 unique call signs. Now, when I was in Germany, it was interesting, if you recall, back in those days, or no, way before that time, they had, if you recall Germany, East and West Germany, the East Germans had a prefix of Yankee, Y, if you recall that, and then the West Germans, like DL, DJ, etc. But in what they were able to do in Germany was to secure their unique calls based on the East German format. And if I could hold this up, this is the badge that I got. I was with the Y84 Papa group, and that was actually the Finnish team. I was a referee for the Finns in that event. So you always end up with some unique calls, which is kind of fun. And the Germans were very clever in coming up with these, I'll say, defunct call signs, and they brought them back just for this event. That was pretty cool. And then finally, there's typically over 40 countries represented in this event. If you have any questions at this point, or questions anytime, just jump in, by the way. The mission of this whole thing, I've got a few slides that speak to that. Basically, it's to publicize, contesting or radio sport on a worldwide basis. This is both inside and outside of the hobby. And it's, I think we've all come to learn it's really, the aspect here is it's a multifaceted hobby that we have. But what we find is a lot of things come together in the contesting world. The multitasking, the logging, the propagation, internet data coming in, your equipment, antenna performance, on the fly, you're working on strategies and tactical planning, what you're doing in the next hour, what band you're going to go to, etc. I kind of call it the ultimate gaming. As you think about some of these people doing gaming on the computer, this is probably even more complicated and more complex. With all of the streams of data coming into your station. So it's, I find it kind of unique in that way. And then final point here, the mission, again, select international locations to promote a broader experience, both for participants and for the spectators. Like I pointed out, Italy, Germany, Russia, and years before was Brazil. It's been held 3 times in the U.S. So, it's a great international type of a setting too, very much in line with the Olympics. And another point on the mission, the whole goal here is also to promote advances in technology. It could be teams operating together, and I'm glad to hear you guys do your team activity. That has a tremendous amount of value. Just learning from each other, the whole social aspect of it, it's really quite amazing. And then there's, scoring, logging, log accuracy issues. They're trying to, educate the spectator, encourage growth for the youth and the young adults. And of course, they want to look to expand this interest into some of the underrepresented regions of the world. So that's kind of the overall arching theme of that. Now, the goals for 2026, of course, is to continue that mission of advancing the technology with the education, hands-on experience, optimizing the station, and of course, any kind of real-time data collection. And some of the specific things that the UK host is doing, they're going to have 4 youth teams this time. I think, as I recall, I think Italy had 2. So they're really pushing hard to expand the hobby and the interest into the youth side of the equation. And then post-event, they're planning to take at least 10 setups, and I'll show you those in a minute, the stations, and donate those to some schools, 10 different schools, the goal being to promote radio sport with the youth. And then what's been happening over the last several WRTCs, I'll call it sustainability. On occasion, with the fundraising, we have some excess funds, and what they do is they set that aside for the next host. So the next group to get going, they have kind of a good running start in doing what they need to do in getting their Olympics up and running.
And Mark, what does this whole thing cost?
Well, I'll be speaking to that too. But this particular one, I think they're looking at about 800,000 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, back in 2014, I think our budget was around 600,000, and it's all raised by donors, and that was pretty amazing. So,
Mark, excuse me, it's Bill,
yeah,
K2TNO again.
yeah,
So following up on the question that was just asked, that 800,000 pounds, distribute that between, if you could, between travel for the participants and setting up the rigs and things like that and the stations. Is some of it actually for travel, or do they have to volunteer for that themselves?
they have to pay their own way. They get selected, and in the invitation letter, they're advised that in order to reach, England, you have to travel on your own dime. And I think you also have to share in some of the expenses of the accommodations. Now, there have been past events where enough money was raised to essentially foot the bill for what I call the Olympic Village, the headquarters hotel, the referees, the competitors, their meals and lodging was all covered. But in the last couple, I think there's been some financial challenge. And as a result, they are asking participants to kind of help pay their own way. So
Okay, if I could follow up with a follow-up, Mark.
Yeah.
So 50 stations, 800,000 pounds. What is the distribution? Or do people bring their own gear, their own?
Yes.
What go for that. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The next set of slides will actually get into that.
Thanks.
But let me just step back to this for a moment. One of the biggest challenges in this thing is finding, identical locations. You saw the basic theme is that we want every location to be identical, which, it's pretty challenging between hills, valleys, rivers, whatever. And that's always the biggest challenge of these things. How do you find a large enough area that's pretty much equal in terms of its ground and propagation capabilities, and then do it for like 50 or 60 stations. And that's quite a challenge. But it turns out in the UK, and this is the perennial question, as I mentioned, this newspaper clip from The Guardian, which is a newspaper in England, level with you. I truly love Britain's flat landscapes, and truly. But they've done a lot of research, found through terrestrial studies, Google Maps, topo maps. There's a lot of work that goes into figuring out where are some good locations. So they were able to do that, and they found some 15,000 plus acres of farmland. And this is a drone shot of that area. So I think they've nailed a pretty good spot. And what's also nice is in past events, I think back in Moscow, they figured out that if we can separate the stations by 500 meters or roughly 1,500 feet, everybody can coexist pretty well with a 100-watt radio. The interference issue is, non-existent. It works out well. So in a perfect world, like what I'm looking at right now, this will accommodate a huge number of stations. And they're all pretty much the same location or the same terrain. And with the power levels involved, everybody should be able to get along just fine. So get back to your question about what's a typical site. There's kind of like three settings at the actual site. You've got a support team, which they provide food and, refreshments and whatever to the competitors and the referee. Then there's a generator tent. Typically, it's like a 2-kilowatt Honda 2000 generator. That's enough power to handle two 100-watt radios plus all the peripheral gear. And then the tent on the right. That's in this setting. Competitors. There's two operators and then the one referee inside the tent. The antenna, typically one tower or one mast. It could be a spider beam. It could be a tri-bander. It's really up to the host country to determine what's the configuration they want to go with. But regardless, each one of those 50 stations will have an identical setup. In this case here, this is a picture of back in Boston. We had 40 feet of Roan 25. We went through a bidding process and we ended up acquiring the Cycle 24 design tri-bander. And, we had weight requirements and, all kinds of different things because the thinking is we want to deploy these things. We want them lightweight and we want them efficient. So no traps and, a very clean setup. So all of the teams that are out there putting this stuff up, they're dealing with some pretty reasonable antenna systems. And of course, 80 and 40 meter inverted V's hanging off that tower. So this is kind of the standard that's out there today. All of the past, I'll say several WRTCs, this is pretty much what it looks like times 50, or in New England, it was times 65. We actually had 60 teams competing, and we also planned on spares. So we had 5 extra locations, and that's what the UK is doing. Competing setups plus 5 spares. And the reason spares, they go through a pretty exhausting look, and we'll go to this slide here and talk about that. How do you find a suitable location? They do HFTA modeling at these spots to get an idea how they might behave. They also do some SDR plotting, and they collect RBN data, a variety of things. When they did this past July, they did their trial. They set up 5 stations in this area, and they collected a tremendous amount of data from targeted RBN locations. The goal was we want no outstanding station. We want everybody to be within maybe a dB or 2 of each other. Nobody really good, nobody really bad. You'll throw those out. It's like, making pancakes. The first one you throw out because it's not quite right, and the last one's probably burnt. So at any rate, that's kind of the idea as to how do we pare down the site and make the final selection. And in addition to the analysis of the site, they're looking at noise. So they'll do a 24-hour survey, just kind of monitor, is there any power line noise, any things that will inhibit the operation? And then finally, there's got to be some cell coverage out there because we're collecting data, sending the data over a 4G or whatever the network is, 5G if they've got it, to the headquarters where they do the live streaming and all of that information. So site testing, like I mentioned back in July during the IARU, they set up 5 stations. They did a program where they were training the trainer relative to site setup, learning how the tents go together, how the mast and the antennas are built, and laying out the generator, all that stuff. Then they collect the data, as I mentioned, through the RBN stuff, and all that data has been collected. And the logs that were generated, and I think for these 5 stations, I think they made around 9,000 QSOs. And we're making those logs public for the competitors so they can begin to, build their own strategy about, how they want to operate this event. And then, as I mentioned a moment ago, any sites that are too loud, too weak, or it's got too much noise, they don't use them. They throw them out. So it's a pretty exhaustive process to go through just to find a good locations for all of these sites.
Question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mark, Bill K2TNO again. So last time in Italy, so a number of the stations had big problems with a lot of local QR Nancy from power lines and stuff like that. This sounds like a much, much better way to go. I congratulate you guys to come up with a way around that so that it's not so because a lot of I knew a lot of the guys who were in the Italian WRTC, and they had a really difficult time. This is great. I'm really pleased to hear what you guys have done on this part.
Well, actually, this kind of started, I don't know if it started in 2010 with the Russian site, but excuse me, in 2014, we really went to great pains to find quiet locations and, everybody equal kind of a deal. Because the UK, or, because of the pandemic issue back in with Italy, the UK guys get really, they only got 3 years to work out a lot of this stuff and not 4. So they've been struggling in kind of a catch-up mode to collect data, to get things organized, But in 2014, we had the luxury of 4 years and actually, 3 years of planning. And by the third year, we had actually gotten to 30 stations out of 60 that we set up the year before just to continue to collect data and further evaluate the sites and, make sure there were no noisy locations. And we think we did a pretty darn good job. In fact, as it turned out, as I recall, there was one site that the competitors had a complaint about, and this was on Friday when they set up the equipment. Turns out one of the sites we picked, that we had two stations set up at a small airport, and apparently the complaint was the noise. There was some helicopter hovering over one end of the runway, and it was close to them, and they were kind of annoyed by that. But for the actual contest, it never came to play. But at any rate, we had backup scenarios. We had 5 extra sites that in the end we never even had to use, which was great. So we're trying to figure every contingency. I wasn't at the Italian one, so I really can't comment about how good or bad the prep was for that. But over the years, they've really gotten this down to a good science, and they've done a heck of a job. So, back in August, or as of August now, they've got things pretty well nailed down. And as I've mentioned, invitation letters have gone out. So now we're awaiting confirmation. So things are progressing well. One other thing here is the data collection and the live streaming. The UK has worked a deal with this organization called World Radio League. I think it's N0JRL, WRL. And they've got a software platform, and they tested it during this past July. Everything seemed to work out quite well. It basically is the way to collect data from all 50 stations. It's specifically designed for this event, or they're doing special stuff for this event. And it'll be able to collect live stats, do comparisons, and this will be viewable online. They're trying to create, like an esports kind of a feel. For those that are not actually at the location, they can dial into this thing and really get a sense of the action and monitor, who are the leaders, what are their scores, etc. And we're hoping that it's going to be a tremendous, a lot of excitement for the viewer, for the spectator. And, they're working as well, WRL, working with all the contest programs to make sure those programs can feed the WRL platform properly and then publish the data to the internet. So there's a screenshot of, I think it was again, this was just during this testing that they did, but here you could see the first, second, third place, with the call signs mentioned in this testing. And there's a whole bunch of other features that'll be available in this. So the goal, again, is to make it extremely interesting just to monitor this website and be part of the action. And now moving on to the final strokes of this thing, we're trying to close in on the budget items, and we've got some gaps. And our biggest challenge, as I mentioned, these guys only had 3 years to really get this thing going as opposed to 4. So we're down to less than a year to wrap up some things. And you wanted to see talk about the budget and what goes into it. Basically, you're talking the equipment. And when I say equipment, I'm talking about towers, antennas, coax, dipoles, generators, all that stuff. And, that stuff all being equal times 50 or 55. And then the accommodations, the goal was to find a headquarters location that would be kind of central to all of those sites. So no one is really traveling, hours and hours to get to their, location for the competition. That's a challenge. And then you want to accommodate the, competitors, judges, and the referees. they have, I mentioned a lot of volunteers involved, volunteers for transporting people from the headquarters location out to these sites, both on Friday for the setup, and then Saturday morning they go out. The contest actually starts at 12 noon local time on Saturday in the UK. So they, in the morning on Saturday morning, they'll be driven out to these sites, the competitors and the referees, and they'll put the finishing touches on whatever. But typically the Friday before, they go out to these sites, they set up all of their equipment, they do their testing, confirm it's all working, and then somebody will stay behind. Those station or the site people will actually camp out the night before just to protect the equipment and make sure nobody's coming through and doing bad things. So they've taken all that into account. So these are some of the the items listed in dark are still some areas that we need some financial help. And I mentioned we're talking about an 800,000 pound budget for all of this. There's youth activities here as well. So it's quite a bit that goes into it. It's really, when you think about it, it's a tremendous logistics nightmare to move things from, say, a warehouse location out to 55 sites and then collect it all, move it all back to the warehouse. You need trucks for transportation, volunteers. I mean, it's a massive project. So there is a fair amount of cost involved. So the equipment is already purchased. We're down to covering the cost of the accommodations at the headquarters hotel. And then there's always these unforeseen things. But as far as financing this thing goes, nations, radio clubs, and you've already indicated that at some future point you folks will take a vote, and hopefully you'll favor us with some good donation. We do tent sponsorships. I'll talk about that in a moment. Sponsored teams, corporate sponsors, guys like ICOM and Yesu and the like. I believe they'll put money together and then sponsor a team. And then there's another element to this where they resell or they resell the equipment. After it's all been used, they try and work a deal so that all of the volunteers get an opportunity to buy the towers, the antennas, et cetera, at a discounted price. And the difference in cost between the original purchase and then the sale of these items, that's what they've got to cover from a fundraising perspective. So that's kind of how this thing typically rolls out. So
Question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Bill, K2TNO again. This is great. Great breakdown. I appreciate that. Let me go back to a couple comments though.
Yeah.
Do the operators bring their own gear, their own transceivers, or
Yes.
are they provided? And if so, do they have a choice? Because some of these guys are, they want ICOM 7851, so they want to stay home. Somebody else wants whatever. How's that? How do you parse that out?
Well, let me answer. If somebody's got something running in the background, I'm not sure. But at any rate, the equipment, that is completely on the competitors. They have to bring their own gear. Whatever they're happy with, be it a K3, K4, an ICOM, whatever their choice is. The element that only is regulated is the power output, and they cannot exceed 100 watts. So you can use any piece of equipment you're comfortable with, and that's how it's done. So everybody lugs their stations over in suitcases and whatever, set them all up on Friday, and make sure they're all talking to the computer and the data collection system, however that's configured. And but yeah, it's all done. I mean, it's all the equipment's funded by the individual. The WRTC only provides the antennas, the stuff that's common across all of the sites.
That's great. That's great. So just another FYI, I've already contributed through my membership in the PVRC for WRTC 26.
Yep.
But let me get you to flesh out a little bit more about youth involvement. Have you guys considered it's great that there are a couple of youth things, several international contesting stations, J68, K, whatever it is, Bill Schmidt, K3LR, several of them invite junior operators to come in and participate. Have you guys considered trying to build a multiplier in, for instance, two world-class ops going, BTTW for that time. There's some downtime on some of the bands, particularly as the conditions change. Have you guys considered trying to figure out some way to build a multiplier in to allow less experienced junior ops to get experience and yet not hurt the team opportunity?
That's an interesting concept. I do not know if they've thought about that, but let me give you a little more insight into the way the rules run on this thing. First of all, you don't want to do or have an environment where what they call cheerleading. If you happen to know the call sign, whatever it is, GB9WXY or whatever, and they're the Latvian team or the Russian team, and somehow the word gets out that, hey, that's the Russian guys. So all the Russian guys get together and they only work that guy to, heavily weight the score in his direction. The whole idea is to make sure nobody knows who anybody is in this thing in order to keep it honest. We don't want any of this cheerleading going on. And they go to great pains to protect the identity of these countries that are operating with these special call signs. Now, how you couple that in to a youth multiplier, that's an interesting question. I don't know how to comment on that, but I mean, I'm just trying to give you a little background on what we're trying to protect and to keep it a completely honest and above board type of a deal. Of course, when you're listening to, this is both phone and CW. So, there's going to be some indication the phone operators will, people will realize, oh, that guy is Lithuanian because I recognize their accent. But in this competition, everybody speaks English. There is no native language spoken between operators. There's no secret little messages passed back and forth, or the referee will tap them on the shoulder and said, "Speak English." We have
excuse me, but I have important information to share with you, Mike. It is possible to create an accent and an artificial intelligence which will stifle your efforts to keep everything honest. And this is Kilowatt 2, Tango, November, Oscar.
Very nice. Very nice rendition.
Mark, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do the competitors also provide their computers and their contesting software? Is that their choice?
Yes. As I mentioned, the WRL platform, his equipment or his software has to interface with all of the popular contesting logging programs. It could be N1MM, whatever's out, all the stuff. And that's that interface that, is important. But yes, everybody brings their own equipment, their own computers, the software that they like to use, but they have to have, I'll call it, for lack of a better term, a spigot. So somebody can plug in the referee's headphones so he can listen to both radios, and then they can pull data for score collection. And that's all the competitors have to provide as far as the outside world goes. But they can bring their own stuff, their own software, etc. Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir. Very well.
Excellent. Okay. Moving along here. So what can you do from this distance? Being the North American fundraiser guy, it's kind of the standard question, hey, it's all happening in England. What can I really get out of it? But, quite honestly, I call it audience participation here. You can watch the Olympics on TV, but you really can't do much beyond that. But in this case, you can actually get on the air, work people. But in our Olympics, we feel we got some worldwide impact. It sets a high goal for the, not only the new, but also the experienced contesters. And it really creates a level of motivation once you've experienced it or you see the whole thing unfold, really unequal to anywhere with anyone interested in contesting. But what you can do from home, you can watch the opening and closing ceremonies. You can work the WRTC stations, and typically they offer awards. If you work all 50 of these stations during the contest, you'll get a very nice certificate or something to commemorate that. There's all kinds of nice little things that they do to, again, create, on the air activity. And then with the WRL platform, they're looking at, giving you that esports kind of feel where you can actually check and see how the competitors, all of them, are doing, all 50 of them. I remember with the Italians, they had a scoreboard running, which again was public on the internet, that I think you could actually see as the scores change the position, their position 1 through whatever 50 or 60 would go up and down every few minutes. It was really kind of interesting to see this huge screen going up and down with everybody moving up and down the leaderboard. That was kind of fun. So again, for the serious contester, I think we've all come to recognize it really is a lifetime achievement. So this the message here is, at a distance, you can still be part of the action. So what's our call to action? The donations that I'm obviously expressing interest in, and you folks are more than happy apparently to support us, and I appreciate that. But again, it goes to the logistics, all the facilities, lodging, all the materials procurement, the live streaming. I mean, there's so many facets to this thing, and it all takes some money. But lucky for us, we've got volunteers, so we don't have to pay a whole bunch of labor. So we're just asking you to help us close the gap. One of the fundraising things that they've got set up was that you get a nice commemorative coin. Back in 2024, they offered this coin, which you're seeing the one side and the back side. And then in 2025, we got that's the bronze coin, and then a silver coin for 2025. That's now available, and that's with a £100 donation or more. And turns out, now that I'm the North American guy, instead of them shipping from England the coin, they supplied me with a big bag of these things, and now I can save them a little more money, so they don't have to ship it from England to those in the U.S. or in North America that are making that kind of a donation. So you can get it pretty quick. Tent sponsorship, that's another way you can contribute. So far, I think they've sold 40 of them. We still have 10 more tents left. But a club, could be an individual group of people, even in memorial, for all the silent keys in the club, if you wanted to pool some funds together and have a nice banner at the tent. These are actually at these operating sites, and pictures are taken and they're posted up on the website. So there's a nice publicity associated with that. But we're looking for $1,500 donation to help us with that.
Mark?
Yeah.
Question again, K2TNO.
Go for it.
Are those dedicated to, can you identify for that purpose which team you want to support? Suppose some club says, well, we want to support Freddie and Harry who are going to be operating, and we want to pay the $1,500 for their site.
Yes. But because I mentioned like 40 of these things are already taken, you'd have to look over the list. And again, they've divided up the world into different regions. And I think the U.S. has got maybe 10 or 12 different regions or different categories. So you could put a banner in one of those 10 or 12. In Europe, it might be most of the sites most of those tents are already spoken for. But if you check the WRTC website, you can get a little more detail in terms of what's available. For example, the Tennessee Contest Club, they purchased a tent, and they kind of looked at it as, I want to support some of the the regions of the world that really don't get a lot of attention. So they actually picked an African team, to support them. So I think it's kind of out of the box thinking, which is great. So I suggest you go check out the website on the tent area, see what's available, and pick something that looks good, that matches your interest.
That's a great idea. I'm glad to hear that.
Yep. Okay, and then this gives you another view here. I mentioned the tents and all that, but the larger clubs are, ones that are not in a position to support with a tent sponsorship or can't get one because they're sold out. Just typical large clubs might kick in 1,000, the smaller ones about a $500 level that we've kind of seen on average. One thing that, I try to communicate is because this is once every 4 years, if you were to look at it from a club budgeting perspective, you're really talking, say, for a $1,000 donation, it's really $250 per year, if you were to just build that into your annual budget. So it's not a big hit for a lot of clubs if you spread it out that way. Just one man's humble opinion. Okay. We've also partnered up with the World or WWROF organization, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with them, but they're a key partner with WRTC. They help deal with the larger donations, the things that are over 1,000 or the tents, anything in that area. They're, of course, they're a 501c3, organization. So, from that perspective, it's all good. They're able to handle, larger amounts, and they also act as a group that holds the funds. I mentioned how we pay it forward or have that sustainability. If there are any funds left over, and we want to pay it forward for the next WRTC, these folks are the ones that will hold those funds for us, which is great. But at any rate, they're a key partner. They help us manage the larger donations for this event. And then there are benefits that come with the significant ones. Large donation, 5,000 pounds or more, that would be like $6,800. You get a VIP status, and then there's a super VIP status. And with that, you get a lot of behind the scenes things. Of course, the assumption is that you will be there. You will be a spectator. You'll be able to get kind of a peek behind the curtain in a lot of ways, what's going on. The score checking, all of that takes place, the day after the event, or as soon as the scores are brought in on Sunday at 12 noon, the score checking begins, log checking begins. And, those folks in this category can take a look and see how that's all done. But there's a variety of little benefits that go with this. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. Yeah.
Question?
Yes.
So how much does how big a contribution has to be made in advance to be declared the winner of our WRTC? Suppose I'm independently wealthy and I just decided that I want K2TNO to go down in history as having won. Surely there's some magic amount, Mark, that I could pay and win, right?
Yes, I like the idea win.
Dang.
Well, it probably is. I guess it would speak to the financial gap that we're facing. And I appreciate you stepping up and writing us a check for that. That's fabulous.
No problem. Just as long as you don't ever try to cash it, I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Fabulous.
This is great.
No, send it to WWROF. Those are the guys that are collecting the big bucks. But to answer your question, you're probably talking 15,000 or more. So it's not.
I thought it was big bucks.
Well, if I can get 10 of those, I'll be in good shape. But I'd be happy with 425K contributions, and then I could retire or go back to my retirement. I'm supposed to be retired for the last 8 years, and I'm so busy now it's ridiculous. So here I am doing this. Okay,
this is great.
This is the final picture, and I know you're recording this, so you're welcome to take a picture of this, but this is all my contact info, all the details about where to go to make the donations. Obviously, we're doing a club presentation tonight, so no need to reschedule, but I'm happy to do it again. I give updates. I mean, that's really a lot of the point of doing this is not only raising attention about WRTC as a whole and the whole need for donations, but I want to continually update those that are participating or helping or supporting with kind of the latest and greatest. Like I mentioned, invitation letters have just gone out. We're waiting for confirmation. It turns out sometimes the top scorer cannot make it for some various reasons, and we understand that. So we'll pick the next level down. But at any rate, that information will be revealed, in future presentations. And of course, it's all on the website too. So, That concludes the presentation. So thank you very, very much for allowing me to grab some of your time tonight.
That's great.
Yeah,
And
we
thank you
certainly
for all your
appreciate it.
questions. Yep.
Questions?
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Okay, so you guys want me to talk about the TQP a little bit? That the next agenda item?
Yes.
We're still seeing the WRTC
Oh, sorry.
presentation.
Yeah, you're right. Let me stop the share.
There you
Okay.
go.
Sorry about that. Yeah. And Robbie, I think I'll maybe tune in.
Robbie's never home.
Roby, sorry, Roby, I'm going to tune into your QSO party conversation because, as you know, I'm responsible for the New Hampshire QSO party, and we just rewritten some rules and some new categories and all that good stuff.
Excellent.
So, I'd like to listen, hear what you guys are up to. So go ahead.
Okay, so this has got the data, but I want to give you a little background before the data. You know, there were two principles that generally responsible for putting on the Texas QSO party. There's N05W, Chuck, who lives in New Orleans, and there was Keith, NM5G, lives up in Tomball. Earlier this year, Keith became ill, and a lot of things didn't happen while he was ill. And he passed away a month or so ago, and a lot of those things were that Keith normally did were simply hadn't happened. So I guess I volunteered to fill in for Keith. So I am trying to do in a period of a few weeks what Keith had several months to do. So primarily after N05W processes all the logs and produces the data of who won, all the various categories and the like. And Mark, for your information, the categorization of scores is rather complex in the TQP.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, Chuck has written a set of scripts in Python to import the log data, sort all that information out, tabulate all the scores. It's pretty significant. And he produces a rather lengthy report, which is under the results section on the TQP website, which you can view if you choose to do so. You can see how many categories there are.
Okay.
So he passed all that information to me, and then my job is to get all of the awards generated and sent out to all the winning participants. We have two levels of awards. We have a plaque for the winner of each category, and we have a certificate for everyone who is a top finisher, who first, second, and third in those categories. And this spreadsheet that you can see in front of me gives you an idea. We have this is all of them. So under the various categories here, we have a non-Texas CW only. We have a Texas single op mixed low power. We have a Texas mobile multi-operator category. We have you can read the categories here. This is the 2024 winners of each categories. So K9CW won the non-Texas CW only category. 85 EB won the Texas Mobile Single Op CW only category. And you can just read down.
Just a little, Robert.
Say again?
Can you enlarge just that section, double it?
I don't know if I can or not. Let's see. How would I do that?
Hold the control key down and move the slider on the mouse. Sometimes works.
That big enough?
Much better. Thank you.
You're welcome. So this has been published and has been sent out to the various clubs, everyone to whom I have access, email I have access to associated with any club in Texas I have sent this out to. And I don't think it's yet published on the TQP website, but it will be shortly. So my job is to produce a certificate for each of these categories and get those certificates mailed out. And those certificates have been produced and they were mailed on Monday of this week. And Mark, you received one, right?
Correct.
Okay. The next category, the next activity for me is fundraising for all these plaques. The plaques cost approximately $62 a piece. And that $62 includes the actual fabrication of the plaque and the shipping. And you notice that one of these is going to go to OM2VL in the Slovakia or Slovak Republic, whatever it's called now. So it's a little more expensive because shipping over there is, a little more expensive. The second place, and so each first place winner gets a plaque and a certificate. The second place winner, or the person finishing in second place gets a certificate, and the person finishing in third place gets a certificate. And that's what I have been doing. I have gotten commitments to fund all of the plaques as of this morning, and I hope to have all the funds in place by the end of next week. Once that happens, I will make a commitment to the organization that fabricates the plaques. They'll be fabricated, and then I'll ship them out as soon as they're available. One thing that this contest kind of focused on is the Texas Club Aggregate. And this is a category where each radio club in Texas aggregates their scores, and it's a competition to see which club can score the most points in the TQP. For many years, the Central Texas DX and Contesting Club kind of won hands down. This past year in 24 was different. We made an effort to make a really good showing as part the TDXS to make a really good showing, and it paid off. We actually won. So that we dethroned them, and I'm going to have another Zoom presentation here in a week or so. We're going to try to strategize what we can do to retain that. Some of those guys are kind of pissed that they didn't win. So I think we'll have competition. We're going to have to get prepared for it, which is what we hope, right? It's what we want. We want competition in all this.
Right.
So that's kind of a status of where we are and what's going on. The 2025 Texas QSO party is in a few weeks. We don't plan any significant changes for 2025 as compared to 2024. We do have a couple of critical issues. Chuck has said that the 2024 year was going to be his last year to do all the log processing. He might agree to do the 2025 log processing, but he's not made that commitment yet. So we got some work to do. And then the next real issue we have is how we make the Texas QSO party whole for the future. 2026, 2027. I don't want to see it die, but we got to bring in some blood, some new blood to see if we can make all this work. So this is the status of where we are, some of the challenges that we're facing. And I want to show you the TQP trophy, the club aggregate trophy. So let me see how I do that. I got to share again. Find my photograph here. There it is. So this is the Texas Club Aggregate Trophy. And you can see there in 2023, the CTDXCC plaque on that. If we looked around on the left side, you'll see CTDXCC. You'll see several of those there. Whenever I get the plaques made, we're going to put TDXS right here. And hopefully we'll put another TDXS beside it whichever place it fits in for 2025. So you can see that there's quite a few places around this base of this trophy to, for team competition winners. So we're hoping that we can keep this going for a long time. And the thing that you don't see here, because I don't really have a good photograph of it, is this is the second of these trophies. There was a first one that was used for many years, and it's all plaqued up, but we don't have, but there was no more space left on it. So a couple of years ago, Keith commissioned the fabrication of this trophy, and that's how we got it. So that's kind of where we are. So if you guys have questions about the TQP, I will do my best to provide any answer that I can.
Yeah, Robbie, I got a question here for you.
Okay.
This is Tuna K2TNO. So last year for the 2024 contest, Scott Straw and I ended up in a competition as ex Texas residents for the to create an award. And what I ended up doing was to create an award which consisted of a Wick Fowler 2-alarm chili box that would be award. I'm serious.
No, I remember.
So I went to Alpha Delta 5 Echo Bravo. And not only was that a really good award, but he and his wife, Melly or Mildred, or whatever his name is, Melanie drives him. Melody, she drives and he operates, and they are a team to be considered. But so anyway, I sent them. I made a shadow box presentation of a box of Wick Fowler's 2-alarm chili and sent it to them. And not only do they like it, it is on their plaque in his Radio Shack. That award is shown by them proudly. So my point is, so here's where I'm coming from on this. This is an opportunity to get a little creative. The Texas DX Society's needs to be out in front on this, and the Texas QSO Party needs to be, because we are the only one of the few states which has a weekend in which we don't have the North Dakota QSO Party and the Saskatchewan QSO Party going on simultaneously. So we need to get to see that is sustained. So anything you can do to try to create ways to increase enthusiasm for it is important, because you don't want to give that weekend away, because right now it's ours.
So that is what I'm talking about whenever we need some new leadership in the organization. Basically, and this is just deadpan honest, in the past 7 or 8 years, the only people that have really driven the boat have been Chuck and Keith, and calls to people to step up to the plate and do something have fallen on largely on deaf ears. Early this year, I tried to get a group together to say that, that to see if we could take over the Texas QSO Party in whole, since both Keith and Chuck had announced that 2024 was their last go at it. And we didn't get any, we got little participation, and the few of the people that had participated decided, after looking at particularly the IT part of it, didn't have the horsepower to do it. And so it's not the end of the world, but we need help big time.
So why not reach out to BVARC? They're local. They've got a lot of people. They're not contesters necessarily, but they've got a lot of much more junior people than this, than TDXS bunch of old geezers does.
Oh, okay. I agree 100%, but I'm blocked off their email list. I can't get in touch with anybody.
What?
And also, that's a leadership job. Is somebody to form a vision for what we want to have, and that vision was primarily held by Keith, and Keith was totally was incapacitated from about March till the time he died last few months, and he did not do that.
Let me interrupt for a second. What do you mean you've been blocked? I know people on BVARC. I'm in North Carolina. I will get people in BVARC in touch with you guys, you tonight, if you want to get rolling on get this done, because TDXS has become so moribund. How many people in the TDXS have calls which are 6-letter calls that begin with Kilo Quebec 5?
Oh, just a few. There's not many.
Right, right. But if you go to BVARC or somebody like that, they've got a slew of people who are interested in ham radio, not just people who last won sweepstakes North to South Texas section. So let's get real here, guys. If BVARC is the last time I was here was when I was in Houston was a couple of years ago, and when I was there, I went to a BVARC meeting. And there was 125 people around that table. When was the last time TDXS had 125 people in aggregate? Let's say we add up for 10 years. Answer: long
Probably
time ago.
never.
Right. So why don't you guys get real here? I'll be happy to be an honest broker and get somebody from BVARC or Central Texas to take it over so that it doesn't fall on the shoulders of two guys.
So the Central Texas group won't.
Why?
Because they're in the same shape that TDXS is in.
Okay,
we had that conversation not long ago.
Okay, very good. I didn't know that. I kind of know a lot of guys in that.
They don't have any, they have 4 guys who rotate officers because they just don't want the club to die.
I understand. Okay, so we're back, very simple, to BVARC.
And what about Dallas Amateur Radio Club?
Or Dallas anybody who
okay,
has,
I could not. Emptied to contact. The only people I know of in Dallas are the Dallas Fort Worth contest group, and I have not been able to get in touch with anybody in that organization.
Okay, I'm going to get Rick Heller, W5RH, to get a hold of you tomorrow.
Rick Heller is on right now.
Yeah.
See that? Rick's right there.
Where is he? Hey, Rick.
Roby, I'm on the email of BVARC, so I'll be glad to author anything that you want sent to BVARC.
Well, you and I had a QSO on email today, so let's get real. If raise it as an opportunity to do it, because this is not as much a contest as it's, what ARL calls an operating option. But goodness gracious, let's get rolling. For instance, when I got the thing the other day about the from Roby about what plaques had been paid for, and I looked and I said, wait a minute, you're trying to figure out how to pay for last year's plaques? This whole discussion ought to be about paying the 2026, 2025 plaques, not 2024 plaques. That's crazy.
However, nobody did the work for 2024 until just a few weeks ago. So
I'm not blaming you.
Information to work with.
I understand you.
I'm just telling you that.
Look, guys, don't get me wrong. I, I've been gone since 1995. I still love I still love the TDXS bunch, but I hate to see stuff, get down to just a few guys and it falls on somebody's shoulders, and you guys have got enough to do. Figure out some way to pass it off to somebody else.
Well, like I said, this fell to me because nobody else would do it.
Bada bing. Good on you, dude. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying.
Like I said, we got to get the 2025 running. And then after that, we have a little bit of time, see what we can do to get the 2025 contest processed and make any, do whatever we need to do there. And we need an owner for the future. We need a leader. We need somebody with a vision of how they'd like to see it. And we don't have that person right now.
For the 2025, for instance, for 2024, I kept looking to see when stuff was going to come. And finally, the preliminary results were released. And I looked, I said, you can make a baby in less time than it takes to get the TDXS to come to fork over these.
Yeah, that's true.
And, seriously. So figure out some way to make the numbers after the following date. The numbers are the numbers are the numbers. You can't parse them forever.
True.
In my humble opinion. And that's not just anybody's opinion. That is my opinion.
I will be happy to send you the scripts and the logs, and you can do it.
And I'm happy to say I live in North Carolina now, so thank you very much, but I will sit here and complain.
Yes. And the guy who does all the scoring doesn't even live in Texas. He lives in Louisiana.
Well, okay. Seriously, I'll be happy to help any way that I can, if that I can. But okay. I'm an old geezer, and I've been there, done that. I got a lot of stuff on my plate, and but I'll be happy to help.
But you're no different than me. I have a lot of things to do too.
Bada bang.
None of us. There's not thousands of man hours available in this organization to do things.
Pass it on to Bevark today. Be done with it.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes, Robbie, I'd like to say, hope Mark got something out of this. AK6IF is one of my students in my class, in my CW Academy class.
I hope you did too, Mark, and we look forward to seeing you in the TQP. Good chance to practice your CW.
I won't have as many cues this year. I hope to operate from the house. It'll be between 100 and 200 cues, but
that's good. We need all we can get.
Absolutely. Nowhere near like last year.
So it was you and Keith who did the mobile, right?
That's right.
That's what I thought.
That was a hell of a setup you guys had. I worked you at a lot of places. It was a great effort.
Thank you.
It was fun. That was really fun.
Probably didn't show very well. I can't scan it. But anyway, thank you much, Roby.
You're welcome.
Hey, Roby, I'm going to bow out. Mark here, K1RX. Thanks very much for letting me jump in here.
So I hope you learned a little bit.
Yeah, I see some
from
things
us.
we've
But
tried too.
we appreciate your efforts.
All right. Thank you. Take care, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, Mark.
See you guys. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Mark.
Take care.
Hey, Brian, do you know Python?
Enough to be dangerous.
That's what we need.
I
Well,
am certainly willing to help out where I can.
so one of the things that, that needs to happen or could happen, I won't say needs to happen, could happen is with all the QSO parties that are run, what do the other ones do as far as log processing and all that stuff? You know, Mark didn't write Python scripts for all those. That's one way to do it. There's got to be other ways. Would
Well,
be
I mean,
interesting.
WRTC is using World Radio League. I don't know if there's a cost associated with their contest suite, but all the logs are processed automatically in that system.
Yeah, I mean that's there's tons of questions like that, but the key element here is we don't have a leader. We don't have somebody that has stepped up and said, "This is going to be my baby, and I'm going to run with it." And that person would come up with some sort of a vision, whatever you want to call it. You lots of slang, lots of words you could throw with that. But what do you want this thing to look like? What we're basically doing is run on something that looked from all I can tell from what little data I have, looks like it was developed by K5NA all those years ago. It doesn't look like it's changed a whole lot. And I mean, that's fine. So we need that owner. We need that person to step up and take that role. And that individual has not presented him or herself so far.
Well, I hope, I hope that some way can be found to keep the Texas QSO party sufficiently prominent that you don't lose this weekend, because it's if you've ever been in the 7 New England states QSO party, your N1MM plus logging alternatives get to be pretty daunting at the time. So try to keep Texas is a big state. Try to keep it big on the QSO party list.
I understand.
Keep
Hey,
the nights or moved weekend. So we got away. We picked the best one, I believe, at this time for September.
Hey, Brian, you sent me something about plaque funding here just a minute ago,
That was before you said that you had commitments
right?
for all of them.
This is from KT3X.
Yeah, I sent that earlier before you said you had commitments for all the plaques.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make clear about that. Unless somebody does not come through with the money, I think we're covered as far as plaques goes.
So just a side note, I haven't looked deeply into it, but on World Radio League's splash page, Texas QSO Party is one of the formats that is featured on their splash page.
Right.
Really?
So they may already have the back end set up just like N1MM does to score it. It might just be a matter of reaching out to them and seeing what it would take to make it the scoring platform, the official
Yeah.
platform.
So let me add one last obnoxious comment of the evening, and that is $62 in ham radio context is budget dust. Why not send out anybody who is the sponsor for the 2024 award right now a thing and say, why don't you spend another $62 and do next year, so that when we launch the 2025 contest, we can say, here are the plaques, and they're all sponsored. $62, really? I mean, come on. He said gently.
That's okay. I mean, you go ahead and do it if you want to.
Well, if
So
okay,
like I said, we need an owner.
okay, I'll tell you what I'll
And
do.
who is that guy going to be?
Well, as a former president of the TDXS, a former bullshit editor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to send out a message to everybody that you listed as a sponsor for the 2024 and say, guys, really, $62? Why don't you up right now and send in a pledge that you're going to do the 2025 one? It's $62. That's the cost of a lunch. Get with the program, gang. You own a K4D that's 100 times as expensive as the sponsorship. Get with the program, gang. And that's not just anybody's opinion. That is my opinion.
You're entitled to it.
What?
And you're entitled to it.
It's worth what you paid for it.
Right.
I'm serious. I'll pull down the list that's already been sent around. You guys have done enough on this. At least I'll send it around and say, look, gang, $62, really? Why don't you write back to Roby and say, I'm in for $62 for next year for the same plaque.
Well, let's make sure that we got somebody that can even do the scoring first. There's no commitment for anybody to run the 2025 QSO party yet.
I will handle the scoring.
There's the man. All right. There's the boy.
Just give me a couple days.
Say what did you say?
I said I will handle the scoring. Just give me a couple days to figure out how we're going to do that.
Yes. Yes.
Good.
Good for you, dude. I'm serious. I'm going to get on tonight after I get off of here. I'm going to pull off of your list and I'm going to send every guy on that thing an email them and say, look, you committed for 2024. That's a long time ago. But 2025, we need you now. What are you going to tell us? Now you're going to consider whether or not $62 is going to be in your budget for 2025. Get real.
Some people will commit, some won't.
Well, if I get half of the people, first of all, I know most of the guys who committed already, and if I get somebody who says, "Well, I don't know about it," I promise you, I will arrange to get a couple of people to come out and rearrange his tower arrangement and cut his coax. And that's not a threat. That is a promise.
Mm.
I know where you live, man.
Okay, that's all I got.
Hey guys,
Thanks, Roby.
I'm telling you, I miss you guys a lot.
Roby, thank you for picking up slack on TQP. I had no idea that it was Keith had left so much needing to do.
You're welcome.
I know that he told me that both he and Chuck were planning to not do any more with it, but didn't realize that meant he was probably got where he was at.
Well, it's a kind of a sad state of affairs, and it's not quote on Keith's fault, those kinds of things. But we are where we are, and there's going to have to be either it dies where it is, or we pick it up and run with it. That's the bottom line.
Or modify it.
Yep.
I'd like to see us look at simplifying and reducing the number of awards.
That's not a bad idea.
I also wonder, I don't know how many of y'all have worked almost all the QSO parties, probably everyone has. But right now, Florida and California usually have the largest participation next to Texas. I don't know where we are now, but right now they were top. I wonder how they do their data processing.
So we set up an activity in late 2024, and we said what we wanted to do is we wanted to survey the various states that had QSO parties that were large, primarily California, Florida. See, there's another one that's pretty big. I forget which one it is. See what they did, how they did it, but we didn't have anybody that would go do that. So we don't have any more information about that. Those kind of things, sooner or later, somebody's got to get off their butt and go do something. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Boots on the ground.
Yep.
Yep.
Well.
Okay, guys, I've got to go. I've got some things to do. We'll see you later. And Brian, I'll send you my email. You can give me a call, and I can give you a lot of background information that might be helpful for you. And I don't know. I have not had any conversations with Chuck. And I don't know if Chuck considers himself the owner of the TQP or not. He may have his own set of plans, but he's certainly not communicated those to me nor to anyone else that I am aware of.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening.
Thank you, Ruby.
73, this has been fun, guys.
I guess Rick sneaked out on us.
Bye, y'all.